Hi, my name is Daniel Regan. As the president of the New Jersey Coalition of Treatment Providers, I feel deeply responsible to speak about the recent executive order issued by the White House regarding treatment of individuals experiencing homelessness, mental illness, and addiction. This executive order introduces sweeping changes to how states can approach these vulnerable populations, specifically by lifting restrictions on states to institutionalize individuals deemed a danger to themselves or others, while threatening to defund states that continue to rely on primarily harm reduction models. This order demands our attention and scrutiny, not just as professionals, but as citizens, advocates, and in my case, as someone who lived through it. I speak from personal experience. I'm a person in recovery from methamphetamine and heroin addiction. I was homeless. It was a 5150 order, a California law, allowing for involuntary institutionalization of those posing danger to themselves or others. That law pulled me out of crisis and ultimately into recovery. The intervention likely saved my life. I was incapable of making rational decisions for myself at the time, and the structure that followed, including my daily psychiatric oversight, judicial review, and mandated long-term treatment, provided a path that I couldn't find on my own. Professionally, I spent the past decade as an interventionist, and I've seen firsthand how it could be so difficult for families to get their loved ones the help they need, especially when the person is not ready or willing to accept it. In that sense, having some form of affirmative intervention availability, modeled thoughtfully and applied ethically, can be a powerful, even life-saving tool. But I say this with great caution. Giving the state authority to involuntarily institutionalize someone must be done carefully, transparently, and have guardrails. We are talking about a person's rights, human rights. The potential for overreach and abuse cannot be ignored. History has taught us this lesson already. We must remember why large-scale psychiatric hospitals were shut down in the 1980s. Unethical treatment, lack of recovery pathways, and systemic neglect. We must not walk blindly back into that era. There is a difference between supportive care and punitive confinement. It is also troubling that the executive order appears to diminish and defund harm reduction models. These models, whether syringe access, medication-assisted treatment, housing first approaches, or peer-led community programming, exist precisely to reduce death, disease, and disconnection. They meet people where they're at, and they build trust. And the data is clear. Harm reduction models do save lives and create pathways to recovery. So where does that leave us? This executive order opens a conversation that, frankly, has been needed, but we must demand answers and accountability before embracing its terms. What exactly does institutionalization mean under this new policy? Are we building comprehensive, long-term care facilities with medical, psychiatric, vocational, and housing services, or simply holding facilities? What are the criteria and the timelines for involuntary confinement? What does aftercare look like? Will there be funding for long-term housing and community reintegration? Will individuals be treated with dignity or detained with stigma? These are ethical and critical questions that I and NJCTP as a whole am working to answer. I've already been in contact with state legislators, gubernatorial candidates, and federal officials, policy advocates across the country. Our coalition, which represents over 250 behavioral health providers, will not sit on the sidelines. We will fight for a balanced approach. We will advocate for systems that protect the most vulnerable without sacrificing their dignity or civil liberties. And we will work to ensure that best practice, harm reduction, and long-term community-based recovery remain not just options, but pillars of how we treat mental health and addiction in America. This is a defining moment in our field and for our nation. Let's get it right together. Thank you.